Hello and welcome to episode 133 of Controller Club, the friendly face gaming space, a podcast where three friends from three continents share in one love, and that is video games. My name is Kleinfeld, and joining me today are two of my partners in crime, my two best friends in the whole wide gaming world. First, coming to us from across the pond, fresh off a very late night with us for the Game Awards, it is Tom Drew. Tom, have you recovered? If people don't know, we've uploaded the video on YouTube. We did our first ever live watch along live stream of the Game Awards a couple days ago. You were putting in the hours though. What time did you end up going to bed? Was it 4 or 5? What was happening?
Yeah, I don't think I got to bed until like 4:45, just because like I was trying coming down of the excitement of all the stuff that we kind of experienced that evening. So yeah, it was a late one, and to be honest, I've still not recovered because it was like a late night after that. So now my sleep schedule's all messed up. I'm going to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning because of also Marvel Rivals is getting like just keeping me up at night too, which we'll get into in a few minutes here. But yeah, I'm a little messed up, but it's all for a good cause. I'm always willing to put in the effort if Jeff is. So yeah, it's all for good fun. All for good fun.
Next up, it is journalist extraordinaire, the Australian abroad, already planning her intergalactic tattoo. It's Lauren Rouse. Lauren, how are you? How are you doing? What's going on?
I feel called out because that's probably true. I have only been like zooming in on that tattoo of whatever the lead character's name is, just a little bit obsessively. But I am doing well. I've been to 2 hockey games this week, so I'm feeling very Canadian and very Christmassy because one of the hockey games was like for a Christmas charity. We got to all throw stuffed toys onto the ice, so that was really cool and definitely got me in the Christmas spirit.
Awesome. Well, that's great. It's the holiday season. We've got a couple more episodes of the show to go here in 2024, so let's get into it. On today's show, Astrobot wins Game of the Year, takes home the big prize. Naughty Dog has a new game, and we're going to do a little review at the end of the show of part 1 of Secret Level. So if you've been watching that, stick around for that one. But before we get to all that, we're going to get into what we've been playing, not just this past week, but what we've been playing over the last 365 days of the year, because the PlayStation wrap-up is out, and all of us have looked at our stats. We've taken a look at it. If you don't know what this is, PlayStation's been doing this. Nintendo's done this in the past as well, but I have not gotten an email for their wrap-up yet. It's essentially Spotify wrapped, YouTube music wrapped, whatever you want to call it, chronicling your year in gaming. So I thought we could go through kind of maybe some notable stats of us, of how long we played, what we played the most, that sort of thing, and then also get into the games we've been playing this week. Lauren, you were away from your PlayStation for a good chunk of 2024. What does your PlayStation Wrapped look like?
Yeah, it is a little bit less exciting than previous years because of that big, I guess, like 3 to 4 month gap that I had, which is unusual for me. There's a part in PlayStation Wrap Up this year where you have like your top game of each month, and there's just like a bunch of months where it's like no data. So that was a shame. But yeah, in 2024, I played 16 games. 8 were PS5 and 8 were PS4, so that was a nice split. My top game was I want to ask you guys what you think it is.
Helldivers?
It's gotta be Helldivers, right?
It was Helldivers. That had 31% of my playtime this year with
Ooh.
50 hours. That's like so many hours for me on a game. The coming in second there was Ghost of Tsushima at 20 hours, which I still haven't finished, but I'm looking forward to getting back to. And then I'll just do third place, which was Dishonored 2, which was 16 hours, which I only did one playthrough of that. And I don't remember doing like every single side quest, so I guess it took me a really long time. Apart from that, I think my gaming style was adventurer, which makes sense for me. I'm just trying to get to the end. And then my total hours played were, again, pretty sad this year, but 159 hours total.
Nice. Okay. Tom Drew, what about you?
Yeah, I played a little bit more because I had my PlayStation for the whole year. So I had 30 games in total in 2024, 19 PS5 and 11 PS4. My top 5 games. Do you want to guess what my top one was, either of you?
I think it might be the same as mine.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at 98 hours, which is
wow,
crazy. If you go through, I haven't got the breakdown here, but like, because I've just taken screenshots, but like, I think for the months of like, it came out in March, right? So then it was March, April, May. it was just Final Fantasy VII like the whole time, and so I was just obsessed with it. Number two, a game that did not come out this year was Fortnite at 88 hours. Clearly I play a lot of
Jeez.
Fortnite. And Street Fighter is number three, 75 hours, which is crazy. Cyberpunk 4, 54, and then Star Wars Outlaws 36 hours. And for the total hours, it's I don't know how this is going to compare to you, Climb. It's kind of embarrassing. It's 526 hours, which is a lot of gaming time.
Wow.
Where do you find the time?
Um, I don't know. Genuinely, I'm not sure. I have to imagine some of that is like idle time, because there are times where I leave my PlayStation on, but also I'm a gamer. So it's
Yeah,
how it
it's a gaming
goes.
podcast.
Yeah. And then in terms of other stuff, my style was role player apparently. So I guess RPGs, which makes sense for me. And then also one other thing was that apparently I got 355 trophies, which is quite a lot.
Any
I don't know how I
platinums?
did that. One platinum, which I think was Astrobot. So yeah. So that was me, which is a bit illuminating.
I
So yeah.
thought I was gonna be bad, but Tom, I just will spoil it right now. I did not play nearly as long as that. I had 40 games this year, 30 PS5, 10 PS4. My top 5 games were Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with 70 hours, Dragon Age: The Veilguard with 40 hours, Star Wars Outlaws 25, Astrobot 18, and Prince of Persia 18. And mine was role player because I spent 41% of my 311 gaming hours this year playing Dragon Age and Final Fantasy. So
Makes sense.
yeah, that's it. Those are our wrap ups. You can go look at, I think it's the PlayStation blog has it up. You can just click on it, and if you have a PlayStation account, sign in and you'll be able to get all of your data. Let's get into what we've been playing over the last week or so. I think we've all been playing one similar game, so we can start with that. Guys, Marvel Rivals. Pretty good. It's working out here. Lauren, you're probably, I would say, the coming into it, you were excited about the Marvel aspect, but you're not super well versed in like the Overwatch kind of side of things. How are you finding a multiplayer hero shooter?
It's definitely fun, and I like everything that it's doing. But man, am I bad at it. There's so much, I guess, that does come from that world of like PvP multiplayer shooters that I just am not versed in. So like I'm kind of a spam the button kind of person, and so many of your cooldowns so many of your powers in for each of these heroes have cooldowns, which I don't love. So I end up just sort of being killed quite frequently, which, as many people can attest to, isn't fun. I don't really know what I'm doing in many of the rounds. Like, I don't think things are fully explained that well. So it is just a bit of a like follow the leader situation. However, I think it's cool. Like, I think it's awesome that we get to like play as these Marvel heroes. Some of them that we've seen in movies, some of them that are only in like comics, some of them that are completely new. And like that you can change up your playstyle so easily, particularly even in the rounds. If you're like trying out a hero and you're like, I don't like this one, you can just switch in the round, which is great. So that's really fun. But yeah, I think there are practice like rounds that you can do to try and get your head around certain things, but it's not really the same when you're fighting a stagnant robot versus like somebody else who's the Hulk coming at you. So some of that is great, but yeah, I haven't really mastered it yet. I don't think it's a game that I will be playing without other people. Like, I'll play with my friends when they want to play, but I don't feel the urge to just like go play by myself and join rounds and stuff like that, because I'm just not very good at it, and I don't really feel like the need to get better at it. So it's great. I like it for what it is, but yeah, unless you guys want to play, it's just going to sit there.
Tom, you kind of alluded to it at the beginning. This has become a bit of a problem for you.
It really has. I love this game, and it's everything that I've kind of wanted Overwatch to be in the past couple years. Having come from like an Overwatch background, I've found it very easy to pick up on, because I know like Scarlet Witch basically plays like Moira, like in from Overwatch, or Adam Warlock has an attack similar to Zenyatta. So I think a lot of those touchdowns are a lot more easy for me to grasp. But yeah, I definitely understand, like, coming into this fresh, it's so overwhelming. There's like, I think, 33 heroes. So you not only have to learn the hero that you're playing, you have to learn what everyone else is doing and what your opponents are doing. So it's kind of a lot to kind of wrap your head around. So I definitely like sympathize with you, Lauren, coming into this like, what the hell is going on? What for, out of curiosity, what heroes have you been playing, Lauren, or what have you gravitated to anyone, or like, is there anyone that you've specifically tried?
I've tried a bit of everybody, but I think my favorites so far have been Captain America, because I have a shield, which helps. And I can just get in there, and I think I'm more of like a melee person. If I can get close enough, I did like Black Widow with the sniper, but I'm just like not accurate enough. And then I also quite like Iron Man.
Okay, yeah.
So he's pretty good. Those are the three that I've kind of tried the most.
Okay, have you tried Scarlet Witch by any chance? Because she's kind of
Yeah,
like, you
didn't
can
do it
get
for me.
into. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because she's definitely my main. I think I just like her because she has like the infinite sort of like ammo essentially, so you can just hold R2 and you just insta kill. At least that's how I find her. But
Okay.
so maybe I don't know. Maybe it could be worth another try.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, like going into this, I was worried that it was just going to be like a pure Overwatch clone, and that like this hero is this like this one, like I was saying. But I feel like every hero is distinct enough from their kind of counterparts in Overwatch. So even though Scarlet Witch is like Moira, she has a lot of other different abilities that kind of set her apart from that. I also really like Magic, who's like a mutant, but she's got a giant sword and she can turn into like this devil thing as her ultimate. So she's a lot of fun to play as, and the healers as well. Like, I know healing is a lot of people don't want to play healers when they
It's a
play these
thankless
sort of
job.
games. Yeah, but I really enjoy them. Like Adam Warlock is so much fun. Mantis, I think they do a really good job of making you still feel like you're contributing in a significant way because you can like look after yourself. Like when you're playing as Mercy in Overwatch, you're basically defenseless unless you're like really good with the pistol. But I feel like you still get kills as healers and stuff, and it still feels really fun. So yeah, I've already put in a lot, like way too much time into this, and I think it's only been out for a week, right? So I think
Yeah.
I put in like 20 hours already, which is insane. So I'm gonna keep playing it. But yeah, Climb, what do you think?
I'm really liking it as well. It's definitely, as you said, scratching that Overwatch itch, and it's scratching it to a point um, more more effectively than I even thought it was going to. Like it is so well made. Like I guess that's what like NetEase money is what is being shown off here. Like it is really incredibly polished, and the fact that like it just came out and there hasn't been any like major problems that seem to be plaguing online games these days where characters feel super out of balance or like you can't get games because servers are down and stuff like that. I've really been enjoying it. I haven't explored the roster like I would have hoped to because I jump into games and I was telling this to Lauren last weekend. I was in Vancouver and we were hanging out. I was mentioning that like this game is bringing in a lot of people who have never tried a game like this before because it is Marvel, because it is such a mass appeal brand. And so when I get into a game, the first thing I'm looking at isn't who do I want to play. It's I'm looking at like the roles that other people instantly lock into, and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
everyone like instantaneously is like, I want to be the guy that does the shooting. I want to be the big tanky Hulk or whatever, and so that usually means that I end up being a healer. Which I'm fine with. That's what I play in Overwatch mostly. I mostly play Moira and Lucio and those sort of things. So I've found like I really like Rocket Raccoon because he is a little more offensive minded, but does have the healing abilities as well. So I can still deal some damage while like taking care of my team. But because of those like I don't know, me wanting to fall into that role and make sure we win rather than me like exploring the roster, I really only played like 3 or 4 heroes. The first game that I had, I downloaded it. I was in Vancouver and visiting my friend, and he has a PS5. And I'm like, can I download Marvel Rivals? It just came out. I want to give it a try. He's like, sure. First game I have, I go in, pick you. You mentioned Scarlet Witch on the podcast last week, Tom. Pick Scarlet Witch, went 46-0, and was like, I'm never like I'm the king. I'm the best at this game. But since then I have been humbled a few times. People are getting
Mm,
good at the game.
yeah.
At the beginning it wasn't quite as I don't know, hard to get a W, but now people are they're figuring it out. So I am having fun. There are definitely, I think I'm the opposite of Lauren on this. Like, I really do not like a lot of the hand-to-hand combat people. Like, I would rather stand back and go pew 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 with my machine gun than be Iron Fist getting up in people's faces. But I am enjoying it. I think I need to find, like, I am really liking Rocket, but I need to find like a character that I is my main, I guess. I've tried Jeff the Land Shark a little bit. I think he's fun. He's
He
in
is
every
fun.
game. Every game I
Yeah,
play, like
everyone
Jeff
loves
the
him.
Land Shark shows up. But I am liking it. I want to spend more time with it, and I think I will, because it is just like, as I said off the top, like incredibly well made. Which I guess, like, maybe I was expecting it to feel like a mobile game or what have you, but it doesn't at all. Like, this is as good as Overwatch, just with Marvel skins on it, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'm shocked at the level of quality, like from the just how well it runs to like the art style and like all the different cosmetics they have. I think are all well really designed. But like even
Have
to
you opened
the
up the wallet yet, Tom?
I thought I could avoid talking about this. Yes, I have. I have bought a couple skins because some of them are just too good. Like I said, I love Scarlet Witch. I think she is going to be my main, so I did have to. I had to get the Multiverse of Madness skin because it's just cool. Okay, it's just really cool. But I think the monetization, I think, is one where I think they could use a bit of work. I think skins are probably too expensive. But the battle pass seems fairly well balanced. I guess I don't know. But the one thing I will say is that yeah, in terms of the technical side of it, I don't know if you've been in a game with Doctor Strange, but he can like open a portal similar to
Mm.
Symmetra in Overwatch, but they'll do it where you can see through the portal in like real time, which I just found like really impressive on like I'm really
It's
seeing
the
that in like
power
a
of the PS5 right there, Tom.
exactly. That's why it's not on like PS4 and Xbox One. So no, I think they've done a really good job of making sure this thing like runs really well, which is really cool.
And it feels like authentically Marvel fan made, which I think is
Oh yeah.
something that it doesn't feel like these are people who were assigned this job at all. Like, there are definitely in the maps and in the character quips and like all sorts of, just like, even just like the skins and characters themselves, there's a lot of like love and attention and fandom here, which I think is really, really cool. And I don't know, like, maybe I just wasn't expecting a lot of this, but maybe I should have been.
Yeah, maybe you should have. But yeah, it's just nice to see. Because
Mhm.
like I think at least for me, I felt like with hero shooters, there's just not been a lot of options other than if you want to play like an Overwatch, and then like obviously Concord didn't like take off, like
Mhm.
which is a
Rest in
shame.
peace, Battleborn. That was another
Yeah.
one back
Oh yeah,
then.
that's so sad. But so it's nice that we have an alternative now.
Mhm.
Which is good.
What have you been playing other than Marvel Rivals? Lauren, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it in the Game Awards section as well, but you've been hell diving. We all kind of hell dove a little bit, but you're back. This is Lauren's living her best life.
Helldivers is back on. Fall Guys is back on. All my social activities with gaming are back on. I think yeah, we'll talk about Helldivers a little later because I'm sure it will
Okay.
come up because and we did all play together. I am still going through Astrobot. It has now been officially proclaimed the game of the year, so we know that it's good. It's not just us talking about it being
We
good.
needed that stamp of approval.
Yeah, agree. It's very good. I must be halfway through at this point, but I haven't been like doing a perfectionist run. Like I haven't. If I miss out on some bots, no big deal. I may. I mean, I'm not a big trophy hunter, so I probably like won't go back to find everyone. But I have been like pleasantly surprised with some of the bots I've found so far. I guess it's not a spoiler because you guys have played, but really loved finding Sly Cooper
I was going to
in his
ask if
level.
you found
Yeah.
your raccoon.
Yeah, that was really cute, and I found his little like, you can get the cosmetic items for them afterwards, and I
Yeah.
found his safe that he goes and hides in, which is really cute. So it's just so wholesome. I like that the way that they've worked in like reward progression like that, where it is like once you find them, they're just so cute, and then you get to go back and like get little gifts for them and go check them out and like I don't know. Well, you hit them, and then that's how they do their little animations. But yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, really, really enjoying it, and I'm sure, hopefully, by next week I will have finished it, so I can talk about my final thoughts then.
Excellent. Yeah, it is nice to that little hub world is so fun. You come back and it's like this PlayStation history diorama. You just can like go from franchise to franchise and you see them do it's their dumb little things and sometimes they'll like interact with each other too. If you like knock the like Uncharted and the like Tomb Raider thing together, like they have a little thing they do. It's fun. I actually gonna shout out quickly. I didn't have it written down, but Astrobot just put out a like a Christmas level, a bit of a DLC edition, and it was awesome. I played it yesterday, 2 days ago, and it's a little bit bigger than I think most of the levels they have done. A little different. It's more like a little hub, and you're slowly like it's like a puzzle box, this hub, and you're kind of going to each area, which is like unlocking the like more and more kind of secrets of this little hub. And there's I think 10 new bots and a bunch of cosmetic stuff. Like you can get skins for your the controller ship in the game and stuff like that. And Tom, Square Enix made their debut
I saw that.
in this DLC level with Gex, the gecko, not a Final Fantasy character.
Poor clown.
But yeah, some of the new bots are really cool. Like I found Spider-Man and Miles Morales and Croc. I don't know if you guys remember Croc from
Oh
like
yeah.
PS1
Yes,
era. Yeah.
so
Hmm.
So
good.
yes, yeah, it was fun. The other game I want to shout out. I hope Tom has something to say about this game too. If you weren't watching the stream for the Game Awards the other night, let's fill you in. They were talking all about Infinity Nikki. Infinity Nikki has taken over the gaming world, guys. This one of the surprise. It's that Indiana Jones surprise hits of December 2024, and we put in chat. Yeah, we put in a poll kind of thing. It was like, hey, let us know if you want Tom to play Infinity Nikki, and we got enough responses, and so now Tom has to play Infinity Nikki. I decided I would join him on this adventure, and I have played about 3 hours of Infinity Nikki, and I'm happy to report this game might not necessarily be for me. It's free to play. If you don't know what it is, it's what I would describe as an open world RPG dress up game from the makers of these highly popular mobile games in China, I think. And this game is so incredibly well made. It's like, again, shocking to me. I don't know what I was expecting, free to play, what have you. You can tell that these people have unlimited mobile game budget in their pockets, and like this game does not feel like a mobile game. It is not. It's like it is 100% console. It looks incredible. It moves incredibly. The animations, the characters, the like it is it feels like I am playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, except I'm collecting like cute outfits and dressing my character up. And it's just like, especially in a world where every game we play is so like I don't know, pretty intense and like can be pretty stressful. I mean, we were playing Helldivers yesterday, and that was a lot. This is just like cozy and like it feels like you're being wrapped in a warm blanket. And it's just kind of chill. And yeah, there's enemies and like I guess combat if you want to call it that, but like it's just delightful. And I don't know if I'll play it forever, but like I'm having fun playing it for right now. It is fun. I am liking it. But Tom, you haven't been playing. You haven't touched Infinity Nikki yet, have you?
Well, I did a little bit this morning because I carved out some time. I only played like an hour of it, I think. So I like
You're
literally
still in the
got to.
tutorial.
I'm basically at the tutorial. I've seen the title card now. And yeah, like it's pretty fun. Like it's a. I'm sure like the people that would really enjoy this will get a lot out of it. Like you said though, like I think there's like a shocking amount of quality. Like I think like all the I mean it's a dress up game, right? You'd expect the clothes to look amazing, but I think they're all really well designed, and you can make some like really nice looking outfits. Like it does what it says on the tin. It's really cool. I don't know. Obviously, I've only played an hour, so I don't. I might eat these words. But I wish there was a little bit more like I guess customization. Like I wish you could like mess around with like the colors of certain clothings or something, just to get that like little bit of more customization. But maybe that's something in the game later on. I'm not sure because I've only, like I said, only played an hour of it. But yeah, it's just very charming. It does feel like having played a gacha game for with Genshin Impact. It does just feel like Genshin Impact, but like a dress up game essentially. Like I don't know if you tried any of the wishing stuff, like when you like when the gacha mechanics basically. But you're basically rolling for different cosmetic items, which I'm mixed on because in Genshin, when you roll, you either get weapons or characters. But with this, I guess you only get like pieces of clothing, and then they make like a full set of like a clothing look, I guess. So if you want the full look, you're gonna have to roll a lot of times, which it's you're probably gonna need to spend a lot of money or play a lot of this game if you want to get everything. So that's an interesting way of doing it, but no, I'll keep playing and tuning in with my thoughts. But yeah, it's better than I thought it was gonna be. That's for sure.
What else have you been playing, Tom?
I've been playing the complete opposite of this game this week. I finished Resident Evil 3, which I mentioned I started earlier in the week, and it's good. It's just a good game. It's very short, like I mentioned. It's like 5-6 hours max. But like it's moment to moment fun. Like I really love the character of Jill. I think she's like really fun like to run around as, and Carlos is the secondary kind of protagonist who you play as too, and he's cool as well. I kind of mentioned it was like more open than Resident Evil 2. That's like not accurate at all. It's very linear, but no, it's still very fun. um I was looking up, and it's very kind of different to the original Resident Evil 3, so I'm kind of interested. Like I now want to go and play the original games to see how they differ to the remakes, which I will do eventually, I think. But no, if you want to try Resident Evil, you should probably play 2 remake first. But 3 is definitely a worthy game to try out, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Now, time for the news we choose. Tom Drew, give us that news jingle.
It's the new Jeff chooses, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Keighley is in charge this week. It was the 2024 Game Awards ceremony this past week. Lots happened. And as usual, I mean, usually here, we would go through story by story, beat by beat. But we thought it'd be fun to cover kind of more stuff by doing a news draft, kind of drafting moments, headlines from the ceremony itself. And then we can share our general thoughts as well, talk about whether we think it was a success or not. I'm just going to start general thoughts here. I thought the 2024 Game Awards might be one of the best. I thought that they did a fantastic job. I don't know how the two of you feel. I feel like Jeff Keighley is not perfect by any means, but every year he listens. And every year he takes bits of feedback and incorporates it into the show. And I think that this year they did a great job of kind of doing it. Still does feel very like it's an announcement heavy show. So it's less focus on the awards, but I think last year the big complaints were that he had not really talked publicly about some of the more prescient things in the gaming industry, whether that be layoffs, whether it be, I think one of the big things last year was taking a stance in the Gaza, the Israel-Palestine conflict. And I think that he internalized a lot of that feedback. Oh, and cutting speeches short. That was a big thing last year too, where people are talking about the timer and stuff like that. I felt like the speeches here, no one felt rushed at all. They made some changes when it came, like he addressed the pretty terrible couple of years we've been having in the gaming industry. And I thought it was a great show. I think that this is probably as good as this kind of format can get. The announcements were great. There was great speeches. There were great moments. I could do without the Snoop Dogg performance, but other than that, I was in. I don't know about the two of you. Lauren, we reacted to it live, but how are you feeling having had sat with it for a couple of days? Like, are you as positive on it as I am?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that part of it could be that I was paying the most attention to it than I had maybe in previous years, which is because we were all watching it together. So I appreciated that, and being able to engage with people as they were watching it and give our thoughts on the fly, which was cool. And I agree. Like, I think there was a great balance of interesting announcements, awards being handed out. Of course, he did still rush through a few awards, then people didn't get to make their
Oh,
speeches.
yeah.
But I think when you have that many categories, maybe that's the best way to do it. I think I could probably do without the onslaught of trailers, because there was a point in time where we were like, it hasn't really lulled until now, and it was just like, okay, I think I've seen a game that's like this 3 times before. And perhaps a better way of doing it would be give your time to the awards, because that is what they are, and then have a few really key announcements, and for example, like we'll probably will talk about it, but in case we don't, like the Okami announcement came with like a big musical performance to introduce it, and so that felt like a really cool experience. So perhaps like doing a few more of those like key announcements, like a bit longer, and then like cut out some of the just like here's a trailer, here's a trailer, here's a trailer. I know that they have to have ads. AMD's got to get their like sponsorship out there, but
We got to talk about all the Hoyoverse games every time.
yeah, and I know that there's an audience out there who do appreciate it, but like at the end of the day, it's a really long show. Like I know the Oscars are also long, but I think because this is a bit different to something like that, like the Oscars isn't a big announcement thing. It's a balance of that. And so I think putting some priority on like a few key things, we all know that like there are going to be announcements that overshadow the show and everything else just gets washed out. So yeah, have the people maybe who are there introduce their announcements and things like that, get to hear from them perhaps. And then like, let's do away with the like, here's 5 trailers in a row and but it's like, cool, what was that? And then we just move on to the next one. Like, save that for a showcase, like a PlayStation showcase, a Nintendo Direct, whatever it is. And then keep the Game Awards to the awards and maybe the few key things would be my ideal show.
Tom, what did you think about the ceremony this year?
I really enjoyed it. And I might be biased because like you guys have said, we were all watching it together. We had a live stream and like a chat going. So I think that energy was a lot of fun watching through and seeing and anticipating it. But I think obviously what helped is because there was exciting stuff to see. Like I think the awards themselves were all handled really well. But then previous years, I mentioned on the live stream, but like you got your Sid the Science Kid games and like things that look like that. But this one, they had some proper announcements and things that you like actually felt like, okay, this is actually worth caring about. And not even just the big stuff like your Okamis or Naughty Dog's game. You had games that genuinely looked really good outside of all of that. And we'll get into a couple of those in a minute. But no, I think this was really well handled, and I think Jeff's taken on the feedback over the years, and this is maybe the best case scenario. I think there are some things that I would maybe change here and there, but even down to like the sponsorships, like I guess you have like the State Farms and stuff, but even though you have like AMD and stuff, at least it's still kind of like gamer focused. A lot of times like the Game Awards, you have like I've mentioned it so many times, but like the DoorDash stuff, and it's like, oh, how does this kind of relate to? I guess everyone likes to order food, but
Chick Hydro Man.
yeah, it's just like, what are we doing here? So at least it's kind of felt a bit more focused. But no, I think I had a really good time with this one. And yeah, I think it was a good time.
Okay. Well, let's get into the news itself. Usually for these sort of drafts, we would pick an order. We'd go to the wheel of names. We're not doing that today. We did a bit of a competition last week. We predicted every category and who would win and who would lose based upon that. And we have winners and we have losers, and that will determine our draft order today. So, coming in third place, we picked, I think it was, did you say 30 categories, Lauren, on Thursday night when you went through?
I think I just threw a number out there, to be
Okay,
honest.
well, it was a lot of categories, and we did all of them except for the esports categories. Coming in third place, who will be picking third in our draft today, is me. I got 11 right. I did not do very good. I took some swings, and almost none of them paid off. So it's, you know what? I should have just gone with the easy answer, because that is basically what won everything this time around. In second place and picking second today will be Lauren, who had 13 right. And then Tom, you won. So you get to pick first. You had 14 correct guesses. So take it away. Let's get into it. Let's not wait any longer. What do you want to talk about first here, Tom?
Well, what I want to talk about first is quickly. I also predicted like 2 out of the 3 esports categories, even though like I know nothing about it,
On the
and that was like
fly.
off the cuff too. Yeah, it was crazy. So I think those should count as extra points too.
I don't think you
But
need any more extra points.
okay, never
I
mind.
think that you're fine.
We'll get into it. No, the first one that I want to talk about isn't even a game announcement. I just thought it was a really cool moment. Is when Emir Satvat got the Game Changer Award, which is the first time they've done this at the Game Awards. And if you weren't tuning in to the Game Awards, basically Jeff like addressed the fact that there's been massive layoffs, which was a big criticism last year because he didn't really say anything. But they actually properly talked about it and addressed it. And I thought that was all it was going to be. But then they brought out Amir Sadvar, who I believe works at Tencent. But what he's done is made like a kind of his own personal project. He looked at the layoffs and was like, okay, how can I help and like work on this problem of all these displaced workers, and essentially made a bunch of resources very easy to kind of pass through and just really easily accessible, and help people find jobs in the games industry. And I think they said he's through this work he's managed to get 3,000 people like jobs in the game industry, which is amazing. Like it's just like crazy that one person can have this massive impact. So I just thought it was really nice that they highlighted this, and I think it just hopefully this inspires other people to like say, hey, maybe how can I help? Like what can I do to help to try to fix this situation? And we can just keep like trying to help help the game industry like flourish, because it is really tough for a lot of game devs out there. So it's nice to highlight that and give it its own moment in the show. So that's my pick.
I think this was the moment of the show for sure. Especially if we're just talking the award side of things. I wasn't expecting this when it started. It was like, what's going on? What's happening? And as that little Vidoc video documentary or whatever started playing, it was like, whoa, like this is really cool. Like this is such a fantastic idea. And I know in the past, the Game Awards have done like the future class thing, which is kind of like a bunch of up and coming creators and journalists and developers and people in industry that you should keep an eye on. And I think that this was sort of instead of that. This was one award for somebody making a big difference. And I thought it was so special. I thought that his speech specifically was like, you could tell how much that meant to him getting up there. And it was one of those moments where it's like, wow, like there are good people out there. And I know that that sounds like very dire. It's hard to see the good sometimes though in this industry, where it is like layoff after layoff and angry Twitter thread and people are mad about this, and it is a very negative thing. And this was just like pure positivity. And yeah, it was really special. Like that's an all-timer moment for sure.
Yeah, it definitely made me a little teary. He had a very impactful speech. And like you said, Klein, it's like we were all sort of wondering, how can you go and hand out all these awards about the great things in the industry this year when so many people in that industry are also hurting? Like some of these people who are getting awards may not have a job tomorrow. You just don't know. And so it wasn't even just that he gave it a moment. It was like he gave it an entire, like Jeff, he gave it like an entire platform. Like he and tried to, I guess, suppose, encourage this from now on. Be like, look at this, what this one person did. Let's all try and make a difference like that. Because I think we hear about these layoffs, and even us, we sit here and are like, wow, that's really sad. I guess we've talked about it on our podcast to try and make people aware of it, but what can we, realistically, what can we do? And so it's really great to see that, well, there is something that you can do, and this guy's out there doing it. So yeah, it was really great. I think he addressed it in the perfect way, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Lauren, we'll go to you. Your first news story.
We know what I'm going to talk about. It was the announcement of the show. Naughty Dog finally has revealed what they've been working on for the last 4 years. It is called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. It had about a 4-minute, I think, like reveal trailer, which basically introduced us to this world that we've never seen. It's nothing like we've ever seen Naughty Dog cover before. It's a sci-fi. And it's basically, I think, a bounty hunter story with the lead character is named Jordan, and they end up on this distant planet where there's no communication on this planet anymore, and they're going in there to try and I think from what I could gather, like find these people, like their targets that they've been hunting. And basically people who go to this planet, they never leave. And what they showed us was kind of a cinematic introducing us to Jordan, who's played by Tati Gabrielle, and the person she's talking to. not sure if that person had a name, but it's like an eye patch lady. She's played by Hallie Gross. And there was like her targets, which I can't remember their names, but like one of them we saw was Kumail Nanjiani and a couple of other people in the photo. So stacked cast, no surprise. We saw the character models, which look very similar to what we've seen before in like The Last of Us Part 2. It's kind of like a trademark of Naughty Dog's. And we saw a hint at this really cool like sci-fi world where there are robots. You have a laser sword. There was like a slight hint at what the combat will look like. It's all very exciting. We all freaked out on the stream. I might have a reaction video of that coming up on the clips, so keep an eye out because it was really fun. But we've been waiting to find out about this for so long. We had no idea what they were working on for 4 years. Was it The Last of Us Part 3? Was it a fantasy game? There were rumors it was a sci-fi game. That seems to be what we've gotten. So, what do you guys think of it? And also, what now that you've seen what it is, what's like one thing that you want to experience in this game? What do you think, Klein?
Oh man, I mean, this was everything. I'm so happy that it happened, and I think what made it, the circumstances of it happening, made it hit even harder because we'd just gotten a Kami 2 moments before, and it was kind of like Jeff had like ramped that up as like, this is a game-changing moment for us. This is the biggest announcement we've ever had, and so the fact that he came back and was like, it wouldn't be a 10-year celebration without one more thing, is just like it. And it was Naughty Dog, and so we were all freaking out, and immediately, if you watch the video, like immediately all of us are like, is this Naughty Dog? Is it not? It doesn't, because we've been in Last of Us world for so long, it doesn't feel like Naughty Dog. But I'm so excited. I think the number one thing I'm most excited about is like, I'm so excited for Naughty Dog to have fun again. And that like, and I think that there will be emotional moments for sure. They talk about this being this one of their most gripping narratives to date and that sort of thing. But this is like, this is just, it's got style, it's got swagger. She's driving a Porsche spaceship. We've gotten a few like other nuggets of information about the game since the announcement. It takes place in a alternate past 1986, where space travel basically accelerated really fast in the 1900s, and so it takes place in 1986, and that's why she's got the like crazy cool CD changer and the Porsche spaceship and the old Sony like sound system in there. And it just like, it is such a cool different direction for them to go in after The Last of Us. And I've been wanting a Naughty Dog Mission Impossible style game for a long time. I will take a Naughty Dog Cowboy Bebop game, because that's what this is. Like they said, they're taking inspiration from Akira and Cowboy Bebop, and like I'm in. I want, the number one thing, if you ask me like what I want to see, is I want more of that soundtrack, because we got teases of it. We got Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross. They're doing the music, but like there's licensed music in this cutscene. Is that like, is Sony backing up the truck to whoever they want and basically saying to Naughty Dog, like, whatever music you like, you want her to have a Walkman throughout the game or whatever, here you go. What do you want? Because there's Pet Shop Boys in this. We saw a bunch of CDs. Like, I think that this could be such a really cool universe if we get what we've seen while she's listening to like We're the Kids in America and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, music's been such a huge part of particularly The Last of Us. Not so much as in Uncharted, but they had a really great score. So it's going to be interesting to see maybe a blending of those two things here, where there is licensed music, but also like a great original soundtrack from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. So I think you can just see like the path that took them to get here, and like now we're seeing a different evolution of that and that applying of skills, which is exciting. But Tom, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was like really cool, and I've kind of talked about before, and like that I'm not the biggest fan of when it's like a pre-rendered like trailer. I always like it when there's gameplay, because that's what you're gonna play at the end of the day. But I think it's just nice to know what Naughty Dog is working on at the end of the day. Like, I've said for a long time, like, I want their next game to be like just a new IP, a new thing. I just want a new thing, and this is completely like different to anything that they've done before, and it looks awesome. Like that little glimpse of Jordan fighting that giant thing gets me really excited, and like I think that's the thing that I'm most intrigued by, like what the combat's going to be like, because I'm getting kind of like Souls like vibes from it,
Neil
which would
Druckmann
be
has talked about how much he loves Bloodborne. Like in the past like few years, he keeps bringing up Bloodborne. It's like I don't think this is gonna be Souls difficulty, but
yeah.
I think there's some Souls DNA here for sure.
It might be more like a God of War, because that's kind of
Or Jedi Fallen
approaching.
Order.
Yeah, it's like approaching Souls, like in a way. So I'm kind of interested to see how that works because yeah, like fighting with a laser sword, that's awesome. I love the Cowboy Bebop comparison, Klein, because like that gets me really amped. Like if it's like that's so exciting. But yeah, I think that and the score, like you guys have talked about, Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor have done some of my favorite scores in the past decade. I don't know. They're just amazing. I mean, Challenges is my favorite score of the year, and if it's anything like that, I'm all in. So yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on this game. When do you guys think it's going to come out? Do you think it's next year?
No,
No, it's
it's
been
not next year.
they said 4 years, but like 4 years ago, it was probably Neil in a room by himself with like some bubbles on a whiteboard. Like I think that this game, I think it's still a PS5 game, but it's 2027 maybe.
I think 2026.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they said that they don't like to announce games too far in advance to avoid crunch culture. So I don't think it's a next year game, but I think 2026, maybe the end. 2026 could be where we're aiming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both those points. I'm also intrigued by the combat. We know that in The Last of Us Part 2, they introduced a bit more in like the melee side of things. And so I wonder, like they kind of nailed like the like gun combat in Uncharted and Last of Us Part 1. So I think now it's like, okay, what can we evolve in this sword combat? I really am interested by that. I think the thing that I really want to see is like, I'm just excited to be invested in a new story because we know that they're really great at telling stories. So I'm just like, I want to know, I just want to know what the twists are, what the secrets are of this planet, who these characters are. I can't wait to be like obsessed with them all and like worry about them like they're real people. So that's what really gets me excited about this is this whole new like story that they're going to take us on. It's really exciting. Good time to be a Naughty Dog fan.
I'm sure we'll
Mhm.
talk about this game many times over the next couple of
Maybe a
years.
couple.
This
Maybe.
will not be the last time for sure. We'll go over to me with my first news story, and I think I'm gonna take just what's on my list at the number 3 spot. It's gonna get. We have to talk about it. Astrobot won Game of the Year, guys, and I think that personally for me, this was other than Amir's speech. This was my speech of the night. I think that this was so cool to see these developers get up there. I think it's amazing that a 3D platformer won Game of the Year. It beat Final Fantasy. It beat a Elden Ring DLC, which controversial, but like a FromSoft game, which have in the history of their releases won. They've had a pretty good track record. They've won a couple of times. But Astrobot won. It was so cool. And then yeah, they get up on stage and I like that you could kind of see that this lead developer who was talking was kind of thinking on the fly and was like, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to do it. And then he just like basically goes into a whole thing about how like without Mario and without Nintendo, Astrobot wouldn't exist, but he couldn't say Nintendo and Mario because obviously it's like a Sony owned IP. They're celebrating a PlayStation game. And it was just like one of those moments where it's like, this man like was being very vulnerable on stage. And like, I thought it was just such a special moment, and it's just crazy to me that like I mean, Astrobot's an amazing game, but it won Game of the Year in a pretty stacked year, and that's awesome. So Astrobot winning Game of the Year is fine.
Yeah, it was cool. It was so cool. And like you compare it like to past Game of the Year winners, like you said, Klein, like a 3D platformer hasn't won. I guess like It Takes Two's maybe the closest you could really come to that. But it's just really nice to see this genre is back. It's so back. Which is really nice to see. And yeah, like I was rooting for Balatro, but like Astrobot and Balatro are so neck and neck. It's like I'm happy with either of them winning. So the fact that Astrobot took it is so cool. And it just gets me out for the sequel because they just seem so passionate. And I'm sure they're going to bring this passion into the next game, which I'm sure is coming. They haven't announced it yet, but come on, it's coming.
We gotta get more DLC first.
Yeah, true.
Lauren?
Yeah. Well, it was great because I think Astrobot really, when I still haven't finished, but what I'm experiencing is like they're rewarding creativity, which I think is really nice, and legacy, because Astrobot essentially is so um like it cares so much about where it's come from, and it's embracing, like it's saying, because like Astro is, I guess, almost like a placeholder. He's not, the big mascot platformer like some of these other characters who appear in Astrobot are. So it's like paying homage to that, and then at the same time lifting him up to be his own, or it's a robot, I don't know, like whatever,
We're
to
not
be its
gendering
own.
Astrobot today.
Yeah, no, we're not getting into that. To be its own sort of, like, to become one of those like iconic figures. And I think this is just another step towards that, which is being like, people, I suppose, maybe when the PS5 came out, they're like, yeah, Astro's Playroom, this is kind of cool. And then like I'm deleting that to make space for my other games, basically. And this, I think, is just proved everybody wrong. It's like, yeah, it's not just that like trial game that you had when you got to play a PS5. It's so much more than that. Like it's worthy of this platform, and a game like this that was, people wondered, like, would it be full price, and like, yes, it was, and it was like so worthy of that. So yeah, it was really great to see that recognized. And I think Balatro also would have been like a great winner, because that's great to see like an indie game get out there and like one dev and show the power of that. And hopefully we will get that eventually. Like I'm sure there is a place at the Game Awards where an indie game like that does win. I'm trying to remember if we've had one in the 10 years of the Game Awards.
It Takes Two is the closest. But
Okay.
that's like
Yeah.
published by EA, so that gets like complicated.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll reach a point like that where it is like this, that the indie gets it overall as well. But
I
yeah,
mean,
I think this was
technically Baldur's
really
Gate is indie, but
Yeah,
not
it's
indie in the
still
same
triple A.
way.
Yeah.
interesting. I guess indie was like, in my head, I'm also like, it was a tiny team. Like
Yeah.
Balatro was one guy.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, it was a really great moment. I think very well deserved.
Yeah. Astrobot, notably, won Game of the Year before Mario did. Just putting that one out there, Nintendo. The ball is in your court. Lauren, we'll go right back to you. Second round.
Oh, wouldn't you go again? Because if it's Snake.
We could do a snake. Sure. Okay, I'll go again then. Witcher 4, guys, got announced. It was great. Ciri is the new protagonist. We have information that there's a voice in the trailer. It has been confirmed to be Geralt, so he will be involved. I think that this game is so incredibly far away, but it's cool. It started the show. It was a major announcement to start the show, and I'm excited for more Witcher. It's really all I have to say about it.
Yeah, I've famously tried to play The Witcher 3 and just not been able to get into it. But maybe this is my way in. I mean, after playing Cyberpunk, I'm definitely more willing to give CD Projekt like games another shot because of just how much fun I had with that game. So maybe I will go back to 3 and try it out in anticipation for this. But I do think this show really well, and I think Siri just looks badass. I don't know what else to say. I think she just looks really cool finding this giant, I don't even know what you call it, like a kind of a spidery kind of guy. I don't really know. But it was a cool thing to kick off the show, and I think it just really set the tone for this year's Game Awards of like, okay, we're opening with this, we've got some stuff, we got some sauce this year. So I thought it was a really smart way of doing things this year.
Particularly because all we know about The Witcher 4 is that, like, yeah, it's happening, but we didn't realize how far along it was. I know this was a pre-rendered trailer, but clearly a lot of decisions have been made about how this is going to go. And like Series being the biggest one, there were rumors for a while that they would be passing the mantle to Siri, particularly after The Witcher 3 and how that went. I have, obviously, there's backlash to this. People don't want women in the lead, but I'm sorry, but this Game Awards, like, it belonged to female leads. Like, we're entering like an era of like women at the forefront in protagonists in gaming, which is really exciting. And yeah, people just need to make peace with that. I'm sorry, but I'm sure Geralt will be in it somehow. Like maybe it'll be like a dual protagonist story. I don't know. But yeah, it was really cool to see this. I'm definitely, like, I'm signed up. I'm with you, Tom. I've tried to play The Witcher 3 like a couple of times, and just whether it's like I just haven't gelled with the mechanics, or I just haven't had time because like it's a massive game. That's kind of like put me off, but I'm like definitely very keen to play this one, and see what that next iteration of it is.
I think this game is this is 2027, maybe 2028. This game's a long ways away. Tom Drew, your second news story moment.
Yeah, my one is
Or
another. Oh
wait,
wait,
did
is it?
I? No, it's Lauren. Yeah,
Oh, it's
I'm
not.
wrong.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lauren,
I'll
it's you.
wait.
I was
I'll wait.
like, wait, Tom, no, you
Wow.
won. What are you
Being
talking about?
silenced. Jeez.
Yeah.
I know.
Hey, what the hell? We just talked. Yeah, come on, man.
That's all good. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Okay, well, I guess I teed it up. The other big thing that I was really excited about out of this show was the Helldivers update, because I've been coming on this podcast and saying still playing Helldivers, but it's starting to feel a little stale. I think they really need to add something, and they did. They added an entire new faction called the Illuminate, which has been like hinted to come for a long time. They're basically an alien faction. They also added vehicles, which is another thing I've just like been wishing for. And they just shadow dropped it. It was available then and there. You could just go and turn on your PlayStation and download it, which is exactly what I did. And I made you two do it, and we had a little round of it yesterday, which was really cool. We got to try it out. So I want to ask you guys firstly what you think and what you thought of actually playing through the new faction and the new area of the game. Tom, what did you think? We died a few times.
We did die a few times. Yeah, I mean, going back to it, I can see why it took them so long to get back to it, and I think it was worth the wait because this faction's really fun to play. I mean, it is different because like it does feel more like a Call of Duty Zombies mode in Helldivers because a lot of them are basically just kind of like mindless zombies. But I think a lot of the different enemies, like that big walker thing with the force field, was really cool to fight
Don't bring it
against.
up. Don't bring the
it's,
walkers up.
it was distressing, but and yeah, like I think my biggest want from Helldivers was like vehicles. And so I'm glad that we have that in the game now. Um, I didn't drive because as I said on when we were playing, I don't have a driver's license, so I was like, no, I'm voting out of that. So it seemed like it was a bit like finicky to get the handle of that when we were driving around, but it's still really fun, and I think this has kind of revitalized my kind of interest in the game for sure, which is what I wanted at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm really glad this was here. And it was cool that it was a shadow drop as well. Like it wasn't just, hey, we're announcing this is going to come out in like a couple weeks or a month. We're dropping it right now, which is just like so awesome. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I drove out of our group and somehow managed to kill myself in the driver's seat just by getting out. The driving it takes a minute to figure out. I also, and maybe we'll know this when we go to other planets and different environments, but I don't love that you're driving in these urban environments where there are like there are streets and things. I want to be like driving across the sand or the terrain to get somewhere quicker. Whereas I think just from our limited experience with it right now, like driving in these urban environments, it's like I don't need this. Like I don't need to get from here to the end of the street quickly. So hopefully they add them to. I don't know if they've retroactively added them to other areas of the map yet, but hopefully they do eventually because I like the idea of driving vehicles and the mechanics and like having you guys be able to shoot while I was driving was really fun. But in the environments they're in now, I'm not sure they're entirely needed because you can't like go 5 feet without running into a horde of illuminate zombies or a ship that's downed or one of those. We had a real problem with these kind of like, I guess they're scouts, these flying kind of drones that find you, scan you, send in the ships and make you slow down and muddle with your stratagems and all sorts of things. But it is like, it's chaos in the best glorious Helldivers way. But Klein, what do you think?
It rocks. I mean, I have the least experience of Helldivers here, and I was excited for you guys who are really into it to like get more things to do. And I I just like we need to commit to playing this game more as a group because like I don't play by myself. I don't have a group of friends that play this game. You guys are the people who play this game, and like every time I play with you, I'm like, this is so much fun. Like I like it's so like chaotic and terrifying. But in the best way. I love that like how you never feel like a mission was a failure, even like yesterday where we all died and or Tom and I died and Lauren was left and then the ship left
Yeah.
and we were
Yeah.
stuck. But you still feel like you're accomplishing stuff. You still feel like you're doing the best for Super Earth, and it's this new horde of enemies is terrifying, and I don't like that they crawl at you if you kill their like take their legs out, and but it's still so much fun. I'm loving it.
Yep. We should do a
Okay,
salute.
Tom. Salute, everybody. Tom Drew, the last news story, and then we'll get into some quick honorable mentions.
Yeah. So my one was my game reveal of the show, which was Split Fiction, which we were talking about. It Takes Two. This is kind of their latest game from that studio, and I just thought it presented really well. It's basically about these two writers who basically, I think, write for this company, but all of their kind of creations come to life in this world. But one writer focuses on like fantasy writing, and the other is more focused on sci-fi. So you get these like two different aesthetics as you kind of go between levels, and a different like gameplay mechanics too. Like you're not just playing the same kinds of levels in different levels, I guess. You have like the one that stood out to me is like when there's a shot of like a barbecue and your player characters are literally sausages and you're like grilling your player characters on the grill. It's like I don't know the context of that, but it just looks amazing. You also have like 2D sections versus more 3D sections and like sliding around, and um, I just thought this looked awesome, and it makes me want to like find someone I can play with this with because um, I know like you can play this online, but I think having like a local um co-op like experience with this is like the best way to experience it. So it comes out in March, so it's like really soon. So yeah, I'm really desperate to try this out because yeah, it looks amazing, honestly.
Joseph Fares is a madman. He just like every time he comes up, I've never played one of his games, but he's one of my favorite personalities in the industry. Every time he comes up on stage, he just is so electric. And I think last time with It Takes Two, he's like, "You guys won't believe what we're doing." Like he was like, "This is the coolest video game you've ever seen," and it won Game of the Year. And then he came out this time and was like, "You guys won't believe what we're doing." And I again feel like, yeah, they're probably gonna at least be in the conversation for Game of the Year when this comes out. I know that some press got to play this game this past week before it was announced, and they're saying that like playing the game is mind blowing, but they showed them some things that they can't actually talk about that will make you go like, I don't understand. Like I do not understand how this is happening, and it's like some truly incredible like earth-shattering game stuff happening. So I'm excited to see what that is. I don't know what that means. I'm up for being a sausage.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom. This was another standout, which is like I've always wanted to play It Takes Two, but I mean, it takes two people, and I guess I haven't had the second player around to want to do it because that one is, I believe, is that only local co-op, and this one is online co-op as well. It seems.
Think so.
I
I'll
don't
fact check
know.
that.
I have no idea if It Takes Two is only local. I just
Okay,
know a lot of people have played it local.
right. I mean, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, one of those like great couch co-op games. But yeah, regardless, I was like, this looks so gloriously chaotic. I really related to it on like a soul level because I'm like, ah, yes, I'm a writer too, and like this is probably the crazy shit that I would come up with, and so I like the idea of just being like, oh, here's an idea, and then just play through it. It gives me, it's like chaotic, but it gives me the same kind of like creative spark that I'm seeing in Astrobot, which is like, yeah, you can have a level where you're a sponge, and
Yeah.
like that has like obvious like it fits into that world, but in this way it seems like it's like we're just going to have this random mechanic and like see what happens, and I kind of like love that creativity and like to see it on this level and to just bring people back to playing games as co-op, which is great. For so long I was like, where are all the good co-op games in the world, and then I just sort of stopped playing them and went to multiplayer, and I like that we're having a resurgence of this.
Yeah, we
Awesome.
need to keep going.
Okay, and it's coming soon, March 2025, which is crazy
Yeah.
that we didn't even know this game existed, and now it's 3 months away. Let's get into some quick honorable mentions here. Is there anything else that we want to shout out? For me, I think I'll shout out some that I don't think will get mentioned. The Elden Ring Night Rain announcement, which came right after that incredible Witcher 4 trailer, and it's like, wait, what's happening? More Elden Ring? They said they weren't doing more, but this looks like it's, and the more we learn about it, it gets me even more excited. It is like multiplayer Elden Ring, but also like From Software Smash Bros, because it's involving like bosses and weapons and characters from like all of their games, which is really cool and really neat. I think that they've kind of looked at the unofficial mod scene around Elden Ring, and there is a very popular multiplayer mod people are using, and they're like, well, why don't we just make it easier for people to do it? And so I think that's really cool. And then the other ones I want to quickly shout out were the Ninja Gaiden Ragebound announcement, which I'm playing Blasphemous 2 right now. It's from that same team. New Ninja Gaiden from that team sounds awesome. Like a pixel art Metroidvania sort of Ninja Gaiden. And Rematch was the other fun one. It was that the soccer game from the Sifu devs, which just looks so cool. Like, I loved Sifu. I loved the way that you felt so in control of that character's body in that game. And when they started playing the trailer, I think we were all like, what? They're making a soccer game? But as the trailer went on, having played Sifu, I was kind of thinking, this actually makes a lot of sense, like them doing a sports game, because they have nailed that like visceral feeling of like being in control of a player's body. So I'm excited for those two as well. Anything else from you guys? Tom, Lauren?
Well, Rematch was also one of mine, and like as someone who's not like that into football, it makes me want to play football. I've always wondered, like, we have FIFA where it's like top down, but you don't have a lot of like those football games where you're like just playing as like a third person perspective. So I thought that was like really cool, and I would be interested in trying that out. The only other ones were Project Robot, which is like from the Eco devs. I thought that's just really cool that they're working on a new game. And then the other one's Onimusha, Way of the Sword, which Klein referred to as Inuyasha, which is the anime
I was so
mistakenly on
close.
screen. But you're close. You're very close. Which is like a revival of that series. It just looks really cool. Like, I really like the setting. And it seems to be in the RE engine, which is what Street Fighter and Resident Evil uses. So it looks amazing. So I can't wait to see more of that. So those were my two honorable mentions, I think.
Lauren, there's a particular wolf game that hasn't been mentioned yet.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to bring up Okami 2, which I would never have predicted in a million years that they were making a sequel. Because by the time this game comes out, it'll probably have been 20 years since the first game came out. And that's like, even back then, it was really groundbreaking. Basically, quick rundown on Okami, you are playing in this kind of painterly, I would say it's like probably akin to maybe a bit of the Breath of the Wild style nowadays. But back then, it was like quite new into this like watercolor painterly world where you're playing as a Japanese god reincarnated in the form of a wolf, and you just have this really great power where you, on your controller, you like draw symbols, and that gives you powers and unlocks certain things in the world. So it was really, really great. I grew attached to it because I, as a kid, was obsessed with wolves, and this was a game where you got to play as wolf, and I loved it. So to just like, I just heard this sort of like musical note that they were announcing, and I was like, surely not. And then it kept going. I was like, wait, that's a wolf running. I'm like, no. I still didn't believe it until I saw Amaterasu like jump out on the screen. I was like, oh my God. I'm just excited to see what this looks like 20 years later on the next generation, like what they can do with it now compared to what they can do with it then. Very, very exciting. So very excited about that. And then the only other thing and I've got another thing, was Laura Bailey and Aaron Paul came out to announce
It had
an award.
chemistry going out the...
A lot more than chemistry. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like we were in the middle of something.
A little bit confused about that, about what we were feeling. But their game looks really cool. It's called Dispatch. It's like a choice-based cartoon kind of game with like, looks like playing through a cartoon, which is really fun. And then the other one I was going to say was like, I just really liked the Arcane performance. Arcane did not win Best Adaptation this year. That went to Fallout. Ella Pennell was still a winner. But I really liked the Arcane, like, I guess, tribute that they did, which was like 3 performances from the show, and including one from 21 Pilots, which was really amazing. And I thought that was like one of the highlights of, in terms of the performances of the show, which is a part of it, like kind of like the Oscars, the Game Awards does have an orchestra there. They do have musical performances from games, and I liked that even though Arcane didn't win, we got to have a bit of a tribute to it there.
Awesome. That's the 2024 Game Awards and the news we choose. Tom, Drew, give us that outro.
It's the news Jeff chooses. Yeah.
Okay, now we jump over to the world of TV yet again. We were reviewing Arcane all last month, and now another video game adaptation, I guess, kind of video game TV series is here. Amazon Prime's Secret Level. The first 8 episodes are out right now for you to stream. If you don't know, Secret Level is an animated anthology series created by, I guess, Deadpool director Tim Miller for Amazon Prime Video. It's produced by his Blur Studios with Amazon MGM Studios. Dave Wilson executive produces and serves as supervising director, and it consists of 15 stories set in the world of different video games. The first 8 episodes, which are available now, the second half are coming, I guess if you're listening to this now, this coming week, December 17th. And they have told in the first 8 episodes stories in the worlds of Pac-Man, Armored Core, Unreal Tournament, Dungeons and Dragons, a whole bunch. So I want to know, we're going to kind of do not like a super deep dive review because only the first half is out right now. But I thought we could get our thoughts. We've watched the first half. We watched the first 8 episodes. So I want to know, guys, what do we think of Secret Level so far? Anyone feeling enthusiastic, passionate, excited? Lauren?
I think it's a great idea. I like what they're trying to do with this. Essentially, they are like, it's in the title, they are short stories that you might not have seen from the worlds of games that you love. However, coming away from the 8 episodes I've seen so far, none of them have made me want to play the games that they're based on. And I know that sometimes that is the intention of these video game adaptations. And I was trying to think about why. And I think perhaps it's because there's so much that is good about this and that does feel like it is from the video game world, but I also think what they're inherently trying to do is everything that's against the video game world, which is when you sit down to play a video game, you're committing, 10, 20, 30 hours of your life to this story, to this gameplay, to this world, and they're trying to get it down to 10 minutes. So I just think it doesn't always work. And while a lot of the stories are good in their self-contained nature, it wasn't enough. It was just like a tiny little taste of something and then it's gone. And I was sort of like, okay, do I want to commit 10, 20, 30 hours of my life to this based on that? Probably not. So I think that's probably where I'm at with it now. I will watch the rest of it and see if that opinion changes. But so far, those are my feelings.
Okay, I think that I've sort of been grasping for words in how, like, why I haven't loved it so far, and I think you just like distilled my thoughts exactly. It is like it that mention of them distill it, like just kind of condensing these things down into these tiny 7 to 10 minute um little small stories doesn't do justice to, I think, a lot of these IP. And I think there are highlights here. Actually, I think the ones that are particularly like great in my mind are ones that take the world of the video game and it is almost not unrecognizable from the video game, but like tells its own story in that world, or like does something pretty unrecognizable, or giving lore to something where there wasn't necessarily lore before. And then it's the other ones where it's like, okay, like we're going to tell an Armored Core story and it's just kind of like going to fly by. And I never have time to buy into the story because it is so short. I think that what the series does quite well is action. And so a lot of them do like come down to like, here's a quick little intro, here's some sick action and an end. And the ones that intro hooked me are the ones that I thought like are better than the others. And then the ones where it didn't hook me, it was just kind of like, okay, I don't really like, I do not really care about what is going on right now. But I think it's like, for video game fans, I think it's pretty cool to see some of these worlds realized. There are, I think, in this first batch specifically, a few titles that I'm like, I have never heard of that game, or I have heard of that game, but I have never seen the world. I've never really thought about that game. So seeing this like 7-minute story set in that world is kind of like, I want to know more about that world. I feel like I'm just kind of getting thrown in here. Tom, I don't know. Are you similar feelings here?
I think so. Yeah, going into this, because this comes from the Love, Death, and Robots, like creative team. I think
Actually, have you guys done like Love, Death, and Robots?
I've
Is
done some
this
of
a
it.
style of storytelling that you enjoy? I haven't watched that series at all, so I have really no experience with it.
Yeah, I've watched a bit of it, and I I like some of it, because it is anthology. You're bound to gravitate to some more than others. But I was worried like that it was going to be similar to that, where it's kind of like, okay, we're gonna do like some really cool visuals and really cool action, but maybe not do as much of like the storytelling. And I think that's where this also kind of falls into, which I think is a bit of a shame, because I think Yeah, like I said, there are some stories here that I think are pretty well done, and it's not an easy thing, right? Like because they only have a certain amount of time, um, so it's hard to like really, yeah, like you guys have kind of talked about, condense something into such a short amount of time. But I do also think you can do it. My mind kind of jumped to like the Overwatch shorts that they've done with Blizzard, um, which in a way those only focus on one hero, so it's a lot easier to kind of tell one individual story rather than a whole game story in some of these cases, in down into like one little 20-minute or less. But yeah, a lot of these I just found it hard to like connect with them, or I just found them kind of uh uninteresting, or even like, and this we'll talk about a bit more, but I think like I wondered why some of these were here in the first place, in terms of like this is an animated anthology, and I thought some of them like, does this need to be animated? Like, could this not just be like a live action thing? Specifically one of them, I was like, that this
Mm.
feels strange to be here.
Which one? I'm interested.
The Crossfire one, like it's
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
just like
yeah,
they
yeah.
could have just done that with
I
real
was
people,
watching that
you
one
know?
with somebody in the house. Like we had a friend over, and or they were sitting watching with me, and I was like, "This just is like this." This to me could be just like any like any just like
Yeah.
Netflix action movie. Like I
Yep.
didn't. I'm like, okay, well, gotta get the briefcase out. Like it's we're gonna get shot at in the car, and yeah, no, I agree with you there.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I feel like you could have used that opportunity to tell a more creatively, like a visually more interesting thing, if that's what you're going to focus on with this anthology setup, and giving it to that another franchise. But yeah, I there are some that I like I said, but I think overall I don't love this that much. But there's some good ideas, I think, throughout.
Was there any particular element or favorite episode, like something that you wanted to shout out here?
I think my favorite one is the Pac-Man one, because it is so wacky, and we found out retroactively that like Shadow Labyrinth, which was revealed at the Game Awards, is like the Pac-Man episode is a prequel to that game. So it's an interesting way of, I guess it was like the Concord thing of this is like promoting that future game. So I thought that was my favorite because one, it had a unique style compared to the like photorealistic stuff that most of these ones have. But also I think it just did a really good job of like setting up the stakes, which weren't like, and there wasn't a lot to set up. It was very simple. Like you're in a labyrinth, you got to eat, I guess, and
Gotta
then that
eat,
was
gotta
really
get
it.
those cherries.
So and I thought like they just did a really good job of like the storytelling in that one. So that was my favorite of these.
Yeah, I think that for me was like one of the highlights, just because it was so weird, and it was like when they said they were gonna do a Pac-Man episode, I was kind of like, what? How? Like, what does that even mean? And I think like for years, people in the gaming community have joked about like gritty Mega Man or a gritty Bomberman or gritty Pac-Man. Like, what would these like old like arcade games? What could they like look like in modern day? And I think that this was like a very unique way to kind of take this kind of classic franchise, and it was kind of terrifying. Like when the Pac-Man robot like bore into that guy, like I guess that's Pac-Man, that like the hooded figure. When the round robot, like the puck, bored into his stomach, it was like, this is awful. Like I am having a visceral reaction to this. The only like the I think that was a highlight for me. The other episode that like I really liked was the Unreal Tournament episode, because it was so like they were, I don't know the lore of that world at all, but like it was immediately like, oh, like this is from the robot's perspective, cool. And it was kind of this like very short story of rebellion, I guess, and it had very cool action. They had like the cool off the wall weapons that Unreal Tournament has, and it was a very interesting way to like translate like, oh, like this game that all it is just team death matches. How do you set that in a world? How do you set that in a universe with these maps and these levels and the guns and these warring factions? And it all made sense, and I thought that that was like very well done. Like I would watch more of that one, but it was really those two for me that were like fantastic, and then everything else was kind of a step below it. Everything looked beautiful. I think that's something I do want to shout out to. Like I would love to know how much one of these costs. I would love to know how long one of these took to render, because like you look at like, I don't know, even the Crossfire episode, some of that stuff looks photorealistic. Like those like cityscapes with like the scaffolding and like the tarps flapping in the wind. Like that looks like real life. Whereas some of the episodes, like the Pac-Man one, is a little more stylized. They have a different animation style. And I think if we were to go forward with this, I would almost want them to do more of like a Star Wars Visions thing. Whereas I like seeing Blur do all of these, but I think it would almost be better if it was 15 different animation studios doing their own take on something.
Well, that's kind of what Love, Death, and Robots was from memory. Like they were all different styles. And so I was kind of expecting that here. There was the Sifu episode that felt very stylized and like fitting for that kind of animation that they use in the game. But the other ones, like I'm with you. I was like right from the start, I was like, wow, this looks so real. I feel like I'm looking at Unreal Engine 7 or something like that. And I was like, if this is the future of video game cutscenes, like we're in for a real treat because I couldn't even believe that. I might even have to research this, but like, was some of that not motion capture? Because if not, it's insane, like how realistic it was.
How do you animate that? Like this, it's bonkers. You can see every pore on Keanu's face.
Yeah, that's right. And so if it wasn't motion capture, I'm blown away. And like, yeah, he looks exactly like Keanu Reeves. That was one of my highlights, actually. I quite liked the Armored Core episode, which is the one that Keanu's in and is basically about the relationship between the pilot and I suppose the AI in his brain. And what I think was interesting about that as well is like there are some of these episodes that are based, like dedicated to kind of being a little bit not ironic, but like self-aware. And that was one of those episodes where it felt like it was a commentary on you being a player in a game and like the meta reality of that. Whereas some of them, I also really liked the Pac-Man episode too, because it was just so different and it felt like they were like creative and given the leash to do that. And I also liked the Unreal Tournament one because it felt real to what the game was like. And they had like, First Blood and like Ultra Kill and this and that. I was like, great. That felt like I was playing the game. So there are these three kind of distinct parts to the series. And I think when they get one of those right or commit to one of those, it goes well. But there are some that it's just like, it feels like you're trying to distill this entire game into 5 minutes. And I'm just not with you. I thought the Dungeons and Dragons one was maybe quite victim to that. I was sort of like, we're going to do this thing, this big epic quest, and it's done in 5 minutes. And I just couldn't get into that because Dungeons and Dragons is like, people play campaigns for years. So I just don't think it did it justice in that time. So yeah, I think it's successful when it has like it commits to its one idea because it's a short, you only have a limited amount of time. But anytime that it was trying to, I guess, yeah, just distill something, it didn't really do it.
Lauren, you said in the document that you liked the performances and the voice acting. Was that kind of across the whole series? You think that was like a strong point?
I think so. They have some really great actors involved in this. Some of them have more time to shine, others don't. I actually thought Arnold Schwarzenegger was quite good in his episode. That was one of the stories where I was like, this is kind of silly. I don't think I'll ever be playing this game. But it was a pretty decent story. Like it wasn't very surprising, but I think about that one when I'm like looking at this list. Keanu was great. And I also really liked anytime we had, I suppose it was in like mainly the Pac-Man episode and the Armored Core episode, but they were like voices that was supposed like either in the head or the voice of the Pac-Man. They were really good. Like I just thought those performances were great. I think one was Emily Swallow and the other was, I'll look it up. You guys keep talking.
Okay, awesome. And Tom, anything else that you want to throw in here?
Well, just quickly on performances. I wasn't the biggest fan of Arnold.
What episode was Arnold in? You said Arnold Schwarzenegger, and
the New World Eternum one. It was
Oh,
like the one
yeah.
where the guy kept coming back
Yes.
up to life.
Yeah.
I do think, for me at least, if it wasn't Arnold, I would have actually really liked that one. But I think for me, the way he just enunciates certain things and like emoted, I was just like, oh god, you're so close. You're so close to this being good, but I can get into it. No, I think the one thing that I'm interested about with this series the most is that, like most of these, I don't really have like a huge connection to. So I'm wondering, like, for fans of these, like Warhammer, for example, or Armored Core, like, are they getting what they want out of this? Like, because for the Warhammer one, for example, I thought that was kind of like a middling one. They had like some cool action, but
really cool action.
the story just went over my head. I had no idea what was going on. But having said that, there is this fan animated Warhammer shorts, which you can go look up. It's called Astartes, and that does a really good job of just like putting you in this world, and just setting up the stakes. And it's a really cool Warhammer short. I don't feel like that. While the action I think was amazing, I don't think that this one did the same thing that just short does. So I wonder how fans going into this, knowing all the franchise lore, are taking, if they're taking away anything from this, because that is the big kind of barrier I think, is that they either feel like they go very surface level because they can't go too in depth, or they just go straight in. We're not going to explain anything, and you're just gonna have to hold on, and like I guess that's all you can really do with the time allotted. But I think there was maybe a better way of handling this for some of these ones.
What episode of the second batch are we most looking forward to?
I mean, I'm ready to be surprised by any of them. I think there's probably two. I am just intrigued by the PlayStation 1. I'll be honest, I've read, like, some people have obviously seen them all and written reviews, and that PlayStation 1 has not been getting good reviews. But I would like to form my own judgment. So I'm excited for that. I know that, like, Kratos and Jin and all that are going to be in it somehow, and I just want to see what they do with it. And Concord, because we're not going to get any more of the game, so I'd like to see if the short at all does it justice, and it helps me experience it in some way.
Tom, what about you?
Yeah, I think the Concord one as well. I'm so intrigued, like what that's even going to be. Because like for me, I didn't mind the cutscenes from what I saw from that game. I thought that was like pretty fun, controversially. But the other one's the Mega Man one, because that just seems like it's going to be the best one. I don't know. I have a good feeling about it. But it seems like it's paying respect to it, but but also doing something like a bit different with the franchise. So I think probably those two are the ones I'm looking forward to.
Okay, I think the only one that I'll mention that hasn't been mentioned is the Spelunky one. The teaser from that, the animation style looks really cool, and I think that could be that kind of Indiana Jones style adventure could be something you could distill down into like 10 minutes, like just like, okay, we're in a tomb and we're trying to find a treasure, and that's things are going to happen. So I think that's going to be good. You can let us know what you thought about Secret Level Part 1 over on social media. You can follow the show. We are at controller_club on Twitter, at controller club pod on Instagram, and controller.club on TikTok. We'll watch the second half and we'll see if we have any strong opinions, and we'll reconvene on the podcast next week and see what we're thinking. We may not do a deep dive. Kind of when we were watching these episodes, like, oh, I don't know if we need to do like a full deep dive conversation on this show, but you can also watch the show. As I mentioned earlier, we did a live stream of the Game Awards. It is up on our YouTube channel. Go subscribe, leave us a comment, ring the bell, do all the things. It really helps out. It's youtube.com/@controller_club. We got the latest episodes going up over there. Lauren teased that we might have a little YouTube short or a little highlights video coming up, and then we also are posting a sort of our best segments up on the YouTube channel as well. It really helps out if you end up over there. Please rate, review us wherever you're listening. And if you have any questions, let us know. You can do so at controllerclubpod@gmail.com. Tom Drew, second last episode of the year. Where can people keep up with you as you head into the holiday season? What's going on?
Yeah, you can find me at Tom Drew Art, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, everywhere, basically. I want to get some art out before the end of the year, maybe a little Christmas present for everyone. We'll see. It just depends on timing. But if I do it, you'll find it at Tom Drew Art.
Excellent. Lauren Rouse, what about you? Where can people keep up with you? And do you have anything exciting coming up?
You can follow me at lrouse19 on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm sure I have things to promote, but I can't think of what they are right now. I write so many articles that sometimes I forget to post about them. Maybe I'll see the otters before the end of the year and I'll post about them instead.
That's the content we come to Lauren Rouse for. It is the otter check-ins. You can keep up with me. I am at the Kleinfelt, TheKleinFelt, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, everywhere. I also don't really know what to promote right now. Just go to the direct, read Lauren's stuff, read my stuff. Go to Game Rant, read Lauren's stuff. We're everywhere. That's going to wrap up this episode of Controller Club. We are back next week for our Game of the Year conversation, the biggest game award. Jeff Keighley can, he can take a step aside for a week. And we will be doing that next week. But for this episode, I want to thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get gaming.